Commanders coach Dan Quinn is facing a high-pressure decision at running back already. And the season ain't even started yet. Let's talk about it. Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Cosmic, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Opinion Stated, where I give unfiltered, opinionated sports takes. Let's go. Yo, what's good, everybody? I want to welcome you back to my channel, Opinion Stated. Man, I got a fun episode planned for you today. I'm going to discuss in this episode reports that I've heard through the weekend. I'm not reporting it. I'm just talking about the reports. This ain't breaking news or anything like that. But John Keim, I was listening to his podcast, and he's, supposing also that perhaps Jacory Croskey-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, man, won't even be active for week 1 versus the Giants. But before we dig too deep into the content, man, do me a huge favor. Like the video if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel as well. Subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell helps you to stay in the loop as to when my newest episodes are uploaded. And man, without further ado, I'm diving directly into this one. I'm entitling today's episode, Commanders Running Back Disaster. So, man, again, the reports I've heard of and listened to a bunch of folks actually report on this on the aforementioned this weekend. That it's possible that Bill Croskey-Merritt won't even suit up, won't even be active for the game next week on Sunday versus the Giants. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. I mean, just to even imagine that. But the Commanders have a very, very good problem on the one hand, and also, man, like, I am a bad problem to have when it comes to the depth and their depth at running back. And so, good problem because it's like, man, if somebody goes down, gets hurt, this is a very, tough sport to play, very grueling on the body. So, man, these dudes go down with injuries. It's really good because you have capable or beyond capable backups, you know what I mean, to step in the spirit of like next man up. However, I hear this said a lot in basketball, but man, in football, it especially rings true. There's only one ball, you know what I mean? And there's not that much football to go around. When you talk about, you know what I mean, like reps and, just being able to contribute in different ways, in different sets, et cetera, man, like it's impossible. And typically teams don't have on the active roster 4 running backs, you know what I mean? So it's just going to be really, really interesting to see how this plays out. Not just myself, other fans of the Commanders, folks in the sports media as well, independent media space and legacy alike, have been raving about this kid, Jacory Croskey-Merritt. And so, you know what I mean? Like, I stumbled upon an article that I wanted to share that kind of digs up a bit into his story. For those who might not be familiar, this might be new information to you. To those who might be familiar, maybe this will help to fill in like a little bit of gray area around some things, or add some meat to the story. It's told about him, as you may have heard, just a bit of it. But this article was published on foxsports.com, or published by foxsports.com. And it was penned by a Greg Allman just a few days ago. And the article itself is entitled, How a Bill Becomes a Phenom. Meet Commanders rookie Jacory Croskey-Merritt. And so this article, man, chock full of a lot of really, really good information. And so I just want to dig into it, and, then I'll come back and I'll give my opinion. But just call him Bill. Odd as it may seem at first, that's the nickname for Jacory Croskey-Merritt, a rookie running back with the Washington Commanders, drafted in the 7th round. He's built a cult following after a promising preseason, becoming a popular fantasy football sleeper despite a long and winding path to the NFL that included stops at Alabama State, New Mexico, and Arizona. Those who coached him along the way aren't surprised at all. I love the kid. The thing that stood out was he was a violent runner, an explosive runner, and his effort was extreme, said Bryant Vincent, his offensive coordinator at New Mexico in 2023, and now the head coach at Louisiana Monroe. His mentality and mindset and work ethic. He was in the film room, was a football junkie. He'd carry the ball 25 times a game, and Tuesday, it didn't matter. He was hurt and beat up, but he had to have his reps. He was the hardest practice player I've ever seen, Coach went on to say. About that nickname. At a young age, Croskey-Merritt kept his head shaved, and that look combined with a perpetual smile had friends calling him Little Bill, like the popular Bill Cosby cartoon from 25 years ago. I called him Jacory, but the guys on the team will call him Bill, said Eddie Robinson Jr., as coach at Alabama State. Halfway through the season, I'm like, who is Bill? I didn't know it was a team thing, but I kind of picked up on it. That's definitely the alter ego. Great kid, great family. After a stint at Alabama State, New Mexico, Croskey-Merritt transferred to Arizona last year, but he played only one game, rushing for 106 yards, a touchdown against his former Lobos teammates before being suspended for an eligibility issue. It's a little complicated. He played 4 games in his first year at Alabama State, the most a player can play, and still redshirt. But the NCAA ruled that he had played more. Croskey-Merritt said another player later wore his number, but the NCAA wouldn't accept the explanation. Isn't that fucking crazy? That's crazy. The compliance officer at SWAC wrote a letter saying they'd have to share uniforms, said Danny Gonzalez, his head coach at New Mexico, and now the defensive coordinator at Arizona. There were numerous kids wearing 21 throughout the season. You could see some of them having long hair, some of them having short, some wore tights, some don't. We went through game by game. We never got a full ruling. The Commanders were impressed by Croskey-Merritt's reaction to a suspension. Most players told their season was over after one game would simply walk away, train on their own, and prepare for the draft. But Croskey-Merritt stayed with Arizona football, to practicing and working on the scout team, helping to prepare his teammates for the backs they'd be facing or that they'd face on Saturdays. Bro, that's a great display of character, man. Like, this dude literally could have packed it in and like, man, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not playing. So, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work out independently, get my mind and body, etc., man, ready for next season and hopes of, you know, playing in the NFL. But instead, this kid was fully committed to his team, to the teammates, and to the process. And then subsequently, it sounds like obviously used, you know what I mean? Like that time left at Arizona to prepare himself for the bigger league, being the NFL. That's the biggest testament to his maturity, Gonzalez said. Every time a scout came through and watched him busting his tail on scout team in the situation he's in, they saw he approached it like a pro. Yeah, I concur. Croskey-Merritt was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school in Montgomery, Alabama, and he stayed home and accepted a scholarship at FCS Alabama State. He spent 4 years there. And while he led the team in rushing his last 2 seasons, he totaled just 1,164 yards and 13 touchdowns, an unremarkable total for that level. He was one of those guys that would ask you, Coach, what do you think? What do I need to improve on? How close am I to making it to the next level, said Robinson Jr., who spent 11 years in the NFL as a linebacker. I told him things he needed to work on, like his long-range speed needing to improve. The explosiveness and toughness was there, and the wanting to work. It's fun watching him play because you know how hard he wanted to get there. I'll tell kids, you have to do A, B, C, and D. He was one of those kids who did A, B, C, and D. That's not a guarantee it's going to work, but it put him in a position, and now he's taking advantage of the opportunity. Croskey-Merritt entered the transfer portal in 2023 and chose New Mexico, but Robinson said he did that the right way, going into his office and having a conversation rather than just posting a goodbye on social media. He thrived at a higher level at New Mexico, rushing for 1,190 yards and 17 touchdowns in one season there. This kid had more rushing yards in one season, 17 touchdowns, than he had in 4 years at his previous school, bro. Like, that's incredible. He got better as the season went on. And then his final 2 regular season games, he went off rushing 21 times for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns and a win over Fresno. Then 31 times for 233 yards and a score in a double overtime loss at Utah State. We give it to him until he was gassed. Then we do something else. Then we give it back to him until he was gassed again. Vincent said he wanted every one of them. After the disappointment at Arizona, Croskey-Merritt helped himself at the Shrine Bowl, earning offensive MVP honors for a game-high 97 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, and Washington took a chance on him. 7th-round picks don't always make a team's 53-man roster, but the Commanders liked him enough that they were comfortable trading their leading rusher from last season, Brian Robinson, to the 49ers for a draft pick. Washington has 3 more running backs returning from last season: 30-year-old Austin Ekeler, 29-year-old Jeremy McNichols, and 24-year-old Chris Rodriguez Jr. But there's excitement about the progress that Croskey-Merritt can make in his rookie year. In the preseason, he turned heads with a 27-yard touchdown against the Bengals, getting so excited that he left the football on the ground as he celebrated with his teammates. Quarterback Jaden Daniels walked over from the sidelines and grabbed it, giving it to the rookie, so he'd always have the game ball from his first NFL touchdown. Once the Commanders' 53-man roster was set, Croskey-Merritt traded out his preseason jersey number for a new one, number 22, and he doesn't have to worry about anyone else taking that number this season. Teammates, coaches, and fans already know what to call him. Another huge change from his humble beginnings in college football. He's been called Bill his entire life, Gonzalez said. I call him Jacory. His mom and dad call him Jacory, but everyone else calls him Bill. Always smiling, but ultra competitive. Wants to be the best at everything he does. He's going to do wonderful things in DC. And so, again, that article is published on foxsports.com, penned by Greg Allman. And, just a lot of good information, man, shared about Jacory Croskey-Merritt, a.k.a. Bill, and, the unfortunate situation that led to him not being able to have that red shirt year count so that he could have played out his final year of eligibility at Arizona as he had intended to do. And, just to see, man, how the kid has bounced back to get himself into Washington and have Washington take a shot on him, and then have Washington trade away Brian Robinson Jr., who had been the featured back for the last few seasons or so. And, you know what I mean? Like, not simply because Jacory Croskey-Merritt was drafted, but that's a huge part of it, clearly with, his prowess being on display during the preseason. And so, I'm really high on this kid, man. I want to see him actually play. I mentioned in a previous episode, rather, that, man, I like his explosiveness. I like his power as well that he displayed. Obviously, man, a very small sample size, so it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen a ton of him at this level already, or that he was even playing against, like, you know what I mean, like the first team defense and all that in the preseason, so that we'd have, more than just that one preseason game to judge him by. But again, I'm just interested in seeing him play. I want to see him improve. I want to see all these running backs on the team improve. Obviously, we know what you're going to get from Austin Ekeler, his ability to catch and, catch passes out of the backfield. Obviously, or catch, passes short in coverage is really, really valuable. He's a decent runner. Chris Rodriguez Jr., I really like Chris Rodriguez Jr. also. He's probably, if I had to guess, second behind Austin Ekeler. You know what I mean? So if I had to guess, I'm not sure exactly how the depth chart is going to be, set up or how things are looking. But again, I just know that it places a huge decision on the desk of one Dan Quinn. Jeremy McNichols is typically used in special teams packages. And so I almost feel like they're going to need him. So he'll have to be active. Maybe they will have 4, running backs active. So it's going to be a tough decision, man. It's going to be really tough. I think it would be easy to say like the odd man out would be the rookie, right? It's like, man, look, man, when all this fails, man, throw in the guys that you already have trust in, guys who've already been here. And man, the rookie can just kind of sit this one out and just, watch. But I think that it's another thing to have this kid active on the roster, man, for this first game, opening game. Excuse me, maybe it's worth it for the team. Obviously, I'm not coaching the team. I'm just, kind of armchair coaching, but I think maybe it would be beneficial to have all 4 of them active. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're going to sit one of the other guys down willingly, you know what I'm saying? But especially just to see who. I mean, who does what, and then who earns the time. Moving forward. I'm old school. You know what I'm saying? These grades aren't painted on, man. So I'm from the era where sports was treated like a meritocracy. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, you get the time because you earn the time. And so if that's the case, then I'll be happy with whatever Dan Quinn decides. You know what I'm saying? As a fan, I'll just have to kind of sit and cheer for whoever's in uniform. Would have no other choice. But I definitely, man, I'm pulling for Jacory Croskey-Merritt. I want to see this kid play in week 1. This is going to be the longest week in the world, man, because we get the first game on Thursday, for this 2025 season. But man, my Commanders don't play until Sunday, and so it's going to be a long, long, long week leading up to that. I'll catch you guys in the next episode, man. I'm going to put together some content this week in anticipation. Take care of yourselves until then. Blessings.